that well properly, and you're going to have a need for water when it comes time to retire, because don't think the government are going to be able to support you. They spend all their money on pink battens and other stuff. Okay? You're going to have to be self-funded. And the only way you can do that is to start taking action now, because if you take action now, over time you can compound and start moving ahead. Does that make sense from a logical point of view? I don't say that to scare you. I just want to give you the heads up that you've got a choice that you can do something about it. You can choose not to as well, and that's your choice. But be smart when you make that choice. So a lot of different strategies to enable you to profit from a lot of different scenarios in the marketplace. Let's take a look at more squiggly lines. Because I love squiggly lines. Because it means money, absolutely. Ching ching, indeed. Now this is a trade on QBE that we put out for our clients. Actually there'll be a few. Anybody in the room take that QBE trade? There's a few people in the room. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 of our clients that were on that trade. They were involved, so they made money. They weren't spectators. Now, don't get caught up on the left side of this. Forget about buying a November put. I just want you to think about, you bought something for 59.65 cents. And the thing you bought makes money if the share price goes down, because their research suggested the share price was overdone up here. So we bought something for 59.5 cents. By the end of the day, what we bought was worth 70. Is that good or bad? And the very next day, it was worth about 81, I think. 81.39 cents. So we closed out. Now that's a lazy overnight profit of about 30%. Is that a reasonable return on your money? Now that's a fairly aggressive trade, so you're not going to throw the kitchen sink at it. But let's just say you had about 4 or 5 grand on it, which typically a client would, and you just picked up about $1,000, $1,200 overnight. Now I had this with you on Saturday night. So how many people could spend $1,000 without breaking into a sweat? Well, $1,200 overnight. Who could get into that right now? You might be buying some earplugs, I don't know. It's a decent amount of money. What did you have to do? 2 30-second phone calls? Job done. Like the idea of that? Who wants to be on the next QBE trade? Okay. Need the recipe book for that. If you like the idea of that, I'd welcome you to the world we call Options Mastery. That's what our business is called. And you'll notice, by the way, we're called Options Mastery, not Options Dabbling. Because if you're going to make money from anything, you simply have to master it. You can't poke it with a stick and hope it's going to work. That just doesn't work. So how do we go about doing things? Well, when the process is right, the results always follow. We've talked about that. And whenever you learn anything, there's a very defined learning pattern that people go through. And as I say, I've had the pleasure over the last decade or so training about 13,000 people on this process we call trading. And some of you have been on this journey yourself, where you've started to learn things. Perhaps you've done a course or a home study or something like that, and your knowledge grows massively early doors. You know, you're learning, and let me know if you've heard of some of these things. Like, you've learned something like support and resistance, moving averages, Bollinger Bands, volume, MACD, stochastics, all of these things, calls and puts. It's all good. You think, my God, I'm learning this stuff. It's great. But then you find yourself somewhere like this, and you've perhaps done the study, and you're at home and you're about to place your first trade. And you pick up the phone to speak to the broker. Your hands are probably a bit sweaty. And you put the phone back down again. You look at it again. No. You pick the phone up to call the broker again. And then you put it back down. Has anyone in the room ever done that? Just put your hand up if you have. Come on, be honest. Come on. Yeah, look at that. People do that because that's human nature. That's what happens. Alternatively, if you're online, we talked about this. You're about to hit the buy button. You've got the calculator out and you've checked your calculations 346 times already. And you can't quite hit the button. Then the cat jumps on the keyboard. Then you're in the market. Like, boom, we're in. Decision maker, get the cat on board. All right. And what you've hit is something we call the plateau. And I come across this a lot because most people have done a program that basically teaches them how to trade, which is exactly that. Now remember what I said our business is about? We don't teach people how to trade, we teach people how to make money from trading. And getting off this plateau is key, because here you're going to be extremely nervous. You might place 1 or 2 trades. If they don't work out, you're going to put the whole kit back on the shelf and move on to something different. Honesty for a moment. Who's ever been in that position? Have a look around the room, guys. It's human nature. That's what happens. And I see this all of the time. All of the time. And it breaks my heart because you're so close. But guys, you're still here. You didn't give up. A lot of people do, but you didn't. And I really respect you for that, especially if you've been in that situation. And this is where a coach or a mentor kicks in. I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, I learned to play tennis. And there were a number of things I could do to learn to play tennis. I could get a book, I could get a DVD, I could learn from my friends and pick up all of their bad habits. Or you can get a coach. You can source somebody that's playing at the level that you want to play at. And I'm very fortunate. I've got a house up in Main Beach, and we've got the Pat Cash Tennis Academy up here. So I gave him a call, and I said, look, I'd like to learn how to play tennis. And the conversation started off really well. I said, oh, great, you've come to the right place. Nice, promising start. I said, look, I'm a morning person, so I'd like a lesson every day from 6 a.m. till 7. They go, well, we don't start till 7. All right. And also, I've got a court at home, so I'd like someone to come to my house and teach me there. We don't do home calls either. So at that particular stage, most people would probably go, all right, well, that's not going to work. Let's go and take up golf or something else instead. But I love those situations because in life, that's not the end of the conversation. That's actually the start. It's not no, is it? It's just the starting point in the discussion. So, okay, we've got to take control here. So, okay, grab the reins. So this is what we're going to do. I'd like someone to come to my house every day for the next 6 weeks at 6 a.m., and I'll pay you cash up front, plus a 50% surcharge to cover his traveling time. Yes, we can do that. It's amazing when you apply some leverage that you can get an outcome like that. But people don't often push hard enough for that. So the very first day my coach has arrived, he's a lovely guy, John, and he's there, and I'm holding this thing like it's a weapon. I've never played tennis. He's glad there was a net between us, like Jesus. There's balls going over the fence and windows getting broke, kids running for cover. I mean, it was on the news. It was bad. But after a couple of days, we started to get a bit of a rally going from the baseline. I think, God, gee, this tennis isn't bad. And being a guy, that immediately then prompted me to have to go out and buy every piece of tennis equipment you can imagine, because it's very important. You've got to have that stuff. I thought, wow, this is great. I mean, the guys in the office are getting sick to tennis this, tennis that, and all the rest of it. But that was all going along pretty well. And then all of a sudden, we got onto something called the topspin forehand, which is quite a tricky shot. Does anyone play tennis here? A topspin forehand, we've got to hit over the ball. And if you hit the ball down and there's a net between you and your opponent, where does the ball invariably land? In the net and on the wrong side. So after about 400 goes at this particular challenging item, I just said, look, John, today's been good. It's been a good week. Don't worry about tomorrow. In fact, take the rest of the week off. This tennis thing, it's just not for me. And he just looked at me, and this was interesting because you think about life situations where you found something a little bit tough, and it's sometimes easy just to push it out of the way. And like any good coach, he's just come out and he's had a chat, and he's got a cheeky smile on his face, and we got to know each other pretty well over the sort of 3 or 4 days we've been together and found out a bit about my business and whatnot. He said, it's really interesting, Andrew. He said, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, sure. He said, look, if someone came into your business and they'd sort of had a look at the education for 5 minutes and sort of went, this trading the market thing, it's probably not for me. Would you give them a big hug and go, there, it's okay, at least you tried? Not in this lifetime, probably not in the next one either. What you'd say is, no, what you need to do is this, let me hold your hand and guide you through so that you can get to A to B and build your confidence up. He said, exactly. So what we need to do is get your hip through the shot, so you're hitting over it without hitting it down. That's the topspin forehand, and that's how you play. And that's what a true coach will do for you. Because that's someone that won't let you get off the hook and go and have a big sook in the corner and go, hey, it was hard. That's someone that's going to get you from A to B, because life isn't necessarily easy. Not if you want to be playing at the level you want to be at. And that's what a true coach is for. Now, I've had the privilege of working with one of the best in the world, and the impact that's had on my business and my life has just been staggering. Because Tony will not let you get off the hook at all. And if you've had the pleasure of meeting him and getting up close and personal, it helps the fact that he's physically bigger than you as well. So just bear in mind, your coach may be a little bigger than you too. I'll get back on the stage. But here's the key thing, and we can have some fun with this for a moment. Life is easy to walk away and do the easy thing. But success isn't necessarily easy. In fact, the only place where success comes before work is in the dictionary. You ever think about that? So we can go through different things in life and we can baby ourselves. I'll give you another example, and these are good life lessons because you can relate to these things. A couple of years ago, I bought a juicer. Had a health kick. Who's ever done that? And it's the best con, isn't it? You go out and you buy this magnificent piece of stainless steel equipment, and it sits on the bench in the kitchen, and week one you're at Coles or Woolies or Ferry Road or wherever it might be, you're buying your fruit, and everyone knows you're a juice virgin because you've got this massive sack of orange, carrot, ginger, and celery and all this shit that's in there, and it looks good going in, but when it comes out, anyway. So there you go, week one, you're making all this juice, and you get people over and have a juice party, you put some vodka in, and it's all cool, and everyone's having a whale of a time. And then one day, you just have this moment where you're sitting there and you think, well, look, it's taken me 10 minutes to make this juice, 2 minutes to drink it, and now I've got 2 hours of cleaning the bastard. So guess what happens to the juicer? Goes in the cupboard with the tennis gear and the diving stuff and the jet ski and the bike and all the other things that were a good idea, the dirt bike stuff from our recent trip too. Let me tell you something. And who can relate to that story? Because the next week you're buying the premix stuff from the supermarket because you get smart and you sort of accelerate your learning. This isn't about a juicer and it's not about tennis. This is your financial future. You better get serious about it, because if your financial future is not as important to you as it is to me, you've really got to look at where your priorities are in life. I want to give you a turnkey solution right now, that blueprint I talked about right at the very start, that anybody can follow. That recipe book that anybody can follow. So we've had a bit of fun because life is about fun. And maybe we've hit a few points that you can relate to. But at some point, you've got to step up and say, bang, this is my time to make this happen, because enough's enough. And I hope right now, talking to you, that some of you in the room are going to be comfortable. And I hope and pray that you're not, because being comfortable is the scariest place on the planet. Life begins when you get out of that comfort zone. You might have done better than your parents and your grandparents. That's what we're supposed to do. You've got the ability to exceed any expectations you could have in life. It's not going to take you 16 years to know what I know and how I trade markets. It's going to take you about 21 days. So on the grind, you should be even more successful than me. All you've got to do is follow that recipe book. It's your future, guys. Now, with that in mind, how do we go about doing that? It's a 4-step process. Like anything in life, you have to have a process. You've got to be prepared, you've got to get confident, take action, eventually become successful. And if we look at life again, because life lessons are things that we can relate to. This has nothing to do with trading and investing now. It's just the process you need to be successful. And guys, I'm specifically talking to the blokes in the room here right now. I want you to think back to that particular awkward chapter in life when you're about 14 and going through puberty. And I want you to think about being at the school dance / disco / rave / whatever it was for your generation. And you're on one side of the room there with your friends. You know, all your buddies are over there. And on the other side of the room, you spy the apple of your eye. The girl you've been watching at school for years, you've got a massive crush, you love her, she's lit up in this white light, just looking beautiful. And you're there with your mates, and they're going, go and talk to her. Who's ever been there, guys? And you're all shy and embarrassed, and you can go and talk to her. And you think, oh, stuff it, you know, I've had 2 Cokes, I'm hyperactive, I'll go over there. That's the drink, by the way. And so you're going to go across, so you sort of go across the room, and you're all shy, and you're probably getting red-faced during this time, and one of your pimples probably burst on the way over. And you get over there, and you go and talk to her, and you go, hello, because your voice is breaking, you can't even speak properly, and you get totally shot down in flames. And then you traipse back to the other side of the room to your friends over here, and they're all giving you a hard time. What a hero you are for having the balls to go over there. And the boys are there, and she's over there talking to her friends, and how are you feeling right now? You just feel terrible. And you have to make a decision. And guys, you'll relate to this. You said, well, you know, am I destined to spend the rest of my life living at home with mum and dad? Or am I going to do something about this? Okay? Now, guys, who can relate to what I've said so far? Because we've all been there. If you're married or if you're in a relationship and not at home with mum and dad, you've been there. So what do? One of your mates comes along and says, no, you've got to say this to her or do that. And you get a few tips. And you've maybe watched Saturday Night Fever, so you've got the strut, so you sort of swagger. Notice the difference in posture here? We're on fire. And you wander up to her and you just go, now who was the thief that stole the stars from the sky and put them in your eyes? Bang. Now we've got a smile, now we've got a conversation. Don't take notes on that, by the way. Well, usually, I don't know. But now we've got interaction, and we've got a dance, and then we've got a girlfriend, and then we've got a relationship. Now, what was the difference between the two? Well, the difference is a corny line, admittedly, but it worked. Trust me, it does. Words are only 5% of communication. So what was the difference? We were prepared. And we were more confident. Do you sense we were more confident when we strutted across the road? Bang. And we took action. That's how you get successful in life. You've got to be prepared. Because the only way you'll get confidence is to prepare properly. And once you're confident, there will be no stopping you taking action. And guess what, guys? The second you start taking action, you will be successful. It's a very good quote from a guy called Wayne Gretzky, one of the best all-time ice hockey players on the planet. And he said, a shot on goal is never a bad play. Because if you never take that shot, one thing I can guarantee is you'll never score a goal. Doesn't matter if you miss. Take the shot. But sometimes we get comfortable or we're scared, and that's understandable. What if you've got someone that's going to put their arm around you and say, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. This is the reason why I've done this for years. Let's go in it together. This is what we did. This is the time to get out. That you can sit back down again now, and wasn't that easy? Do you think it would be easier than trying to do it on your own? And that's exactly what our business is about. So this is our model of what we do. So how do we do that? Well, it involves a number of things: education, support, and action steps. So let's talk a little of our education for a moment. We deliver education via what we call an e-learning course. And there's a reason for that. Over the years, I've done education. We've done thousands of people in an auditorium. We've done one-on-one. We've tried everything in between. And one of the biggest things that we found is that we get the best outcome through an e-learning program. Now, what do I use as the outcome? Remember, our business isn't teaching people how to trade. It's teaching people how to make money from trading. I look at our client results. I see what they're actually doing and what sort of money they're making. That, for me, is a concrete benchmark that you can use. So why the benefits of an e-learning course? Well, they often say that repetition is the mother of all skill. The more you repeat something, the better at it you get. Can anyone relate to that in some way, shape, or form? Now, think about it in a different way. Has anyone here ever watched a movie for a second time, or maybe a third time. Now, was it just a little bit different to how you initially remembered it? No, it wasn't because the movie was different. It was because at the time your state might have changed. You might have had a few drinks when you watched it the first time. Or if you're a guy, you'd have been doing the nodding dog through some love story and chick flick, or whatever it might be. The point is, you weren't in a peak state to digest this. If you repeat something several times, then you're going to learn it. And if you learn it, you're going to be more confident about it. That's why we deliver education that way. It sits on your computer. It will mean that you don't have to give up yet another weekend. These events are great. You've got the raw materials, the seeds there now. But life is about getting out there and living and having lifestyle. And a weekend in a seminar room, I don't know. I'd rather be studying at 7 o'clock on a Tuesday night with a glass of red after the kids have gone to bed than give up a Saturday and Sunday, which might be school day or a nice beach weather as we've seen this weekend. That's part of the reason we deliver it that way. Does that make sense? Now, also, we cover 11 different strategies. Now, we don't cover 11 strategies because 11 sounds really cool. We've developed 11 different strategies because markets have the ability to present different challenges over time. And really, markets they're like a golf course. You know, when you play golf, a golf course has got the ability to give you different hazards. If you're in the bunker, it's very unlikely you're going to use a putter to try and get out. You need to use the right clubs. So if we can teach you the right strategies to apply at the right time, you're going to get a much better score. In other words, you're going to make more money. That's part of the reason why we do that. Okay? So very, very powerful in the way that it's constructed. You don't have to learn all of those 11 strategies at once because we don't apply all those 11 strategies at once. We use probably 2 or 3 at any one time, which means I'm going to need about 5 hours of your time over the next 3 weeks. Could you find 5 hours to set yourself free? It's not a bad trade-off, is it? I said, could we find 5 hours to set ourselves free, guys? Yes. Let's get some energy in the room. Where are we? Who's saying yes? I can't hear. Yes. Good, that's good. How options are priced. Most importantly, risk management, and then how do we go about generating cash flow? Very important. Risk management first, then generating cash flow. So one of the strategies we teach, and this is a cheeky little one, this is a strategy that in my experience most brokers don't even know exists. It's a cheeky little strategy called stock repair. And the reason why most brokers don't know this strategy exists because most brokers are in their early 20s. So all they've ever known is a bull market where the stock market goes up. And right now they're going like, geesh, what do we do in these circumstances? Just to give you an idea, the average age, and I mentioned this to you on Saturday, of my broking team is 47. One of my guys was 69 yesterday. Now, he started trading. I don't know why that number always gets a chuckle, but it seems to. One away from 70. He's very excited. Now, he started trading in 1966. Now, have a think about that for a moment. You say, why is he still trading? He'll trade till the day he dies. Rocks up in the office, big handlebar, silver moustache, rocks up in his roller every day. He loves the market. To be what he does, the day they put him in the ground, he'll still be kicking it off. Buy it, buy it. Now, have a think about this. He started in 1966. So what have we seen since then? Well, we had the 1974 oil shock, before some of your time. Then we had the 87 crash. Then in the early 90s, remember we had that recession we had to have? We felt really good about that. Love it when politicians tell you it was good for you. And then what do we have? 94 or 93, we had Barings Bank collapse, Nick Leeson. 94, we had the Asian currency crisis. 97, the Russian currency crisis. 98, long-term capital management, lost about $4 billion. Then we had 99, which was Y2K. Pretty depressing time, isn't it? Then we had the dot-com boom and bust. We had 2 Gulf Wars. We had SARS virus, bird flu, all of those things. Then we had the latest round of global financial crisis. What do you think Ken's doing in these circumstances right now? Do you think he's panicking like a lot of the young brokers? Tell you what he's doing, he's just dusting the playbook off and going, all right, crisis, this is what we do in a crisis. This is how people make money in a crisis. One of his clients, and you can hear a bit from him in a few minutes' time, is averaging about $20,000 to $25,000 a month in free cash flow, off about a $300,000 investment in the market. You can divide that up or down, but that's not over a couple of months. That's been on average every month for the last 14 months. Do you think he's happy? He's panicking about this crisis? What crisis? And that's the benefit of experience, because experience is a great teacher. It's even better when it's somebody else's, because it will give you leverage, it will get you from A to B more quickly, but more importantly, you will leverage off of that person's hard knocks so that you don't have to get them. That's what smart people do when they want to learn. They just find someone that's at that level and they leverage off what they're doing. Does that make sense from a logical point of view? That's what it's all about, isn't it? So stock repair, cheeky strategy. This is very useful if you happen to own shares that are worth less than what you paid for them. Now that's hypothetical, because I'm sure no one in the room is in that position, right? What it enables us to do is get back to break even a little bit more quickly, but with a relatively small move in the share price. Now, why would we want to get back to break even? Well, remember, trading is 80%, 90% psychology. Now, making a loss hurts. Getting out for break even, you think, we've dodged a bullet there. And if you can get out for a break even, you can then deploy your funds into something that's going to help you make money. Do you understand the sort of psychology we just went through with all of that? So we could have made a loss, but instead we got out for a break even, and now we're putting it into something that's moving forward. That's why we teach a strategy. Very few people even know it exists. What about on the support side? We provide a whole bunch of support. So education is very comprehensive, but that's the starting point. That's the foundation, if you like. The ongoing handhold and the ongoing support is what really helps our clients thrive in the marketplace. So every day we've got our market report, but this is the key thing here, this opening bell webinar. Our clients love this. Every morning, our traders, we have our morning meeting about 7:30, talk to the analysts, work out what we're going to do for the day, and then we put out a broadcast for our clients. And this is two-way, so what it does, it gives you the opportunity to ask questions. There's nothing worse than when you watch the news or something on the TV and going, look, that looked really interesting, but I don't really know what they meant. Has anyone ever been in that space? What about if you're able to ask real time and say, what exactly did you mean by that, and then get it explained to you in simple terms? Well, that's what we do with our opening bell. It only runs for about 10 minutes, and it lines you up for exactly what we're planning on doing for the day so you're prepared. Remember, it's all about being prepared. It's also archived, so if you're a mum and you're doing the school run or grabbing coffee, you can go home, 9:45, fire it up before the market opens, and you can still get access to it. So wherever you are in the world, you can get access to it. Very, very powerful. We have our weekly newsletter, our Options Weekly, and that's been very, very profitable for our clients that follow the trades in there. But newsletters are one thing. What we like to do with that is a session we call Behind the Mind, and the trader that writes the newsletter volunteers his time on a Monday night, and what he does with this is something called Behind the Mind. One of the best ways of learning is to be able to join the dots. Here's some information over here, and here's a trading decision over here. Now, most people can see and understand that. Like, for example, gold was down very heavily on Friday night. So what do you think is going to happen to the gold producers here in Australia today? So what we need to do is to be able to join those dots to have the confidence to take that trade and profit from the fall in those gold producers. Now, logically, does that make sense? But joining those dots on your own is really hard, especially when you see the volume of news that comes out. It's like, well, gee, what's right and what's wrong here? But when you've got people that manage literally millions and millions of dollars in the market every day, telling you real time on what they're doing and why so that you can benefit from it, it sets you up for the day. And that's part of the reason we do with our Behind the Mind session. Tuesday night, our Options Progress webinar is a great opportunity to ask as many questions you like about anything trading related. Very, very good support. All of these are archived. Phone support from our mentoring team is there every day. SMS trade recommendations as and when. It's an amazing service. Nothing could be easier anywhere in the world with global roaming. And then email support 24/7. So have a bit of a listen.